for decades, conversations about the Igbo nation and the Igbo agenda, of course, has been a continuous conversation that we have had, one which we'll be having again this morning with Barrister Pat Onukwuli, who is a legal practitioner and is also a real estate mogul, joining us via Zoom this morning. You're welcome.
Good morning for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, how would you define the Igbo nation today, the Igbo nation and the Igbo agenda? How would you describe or define it?
Well, let me say again, thanks for having me. The Igbo agenda question, it's sometimes it's something that's always weaponized by, let me use the word loosely, by Igbo detractors to mean separatism, that Igbos want to go their own way, or things like that, trying to divide the country. But I will take Igbo agenda, my own take on Igbo agenda. I will anchor it on the Igbos wanting a fairer, stay in a fairer operating system in Nigeria. So I look at Igbo agenda, in the broader sense, in terms of developmental blueprints for the Igbo area, political integration within the bigger polity of Nigeria, and also fairer representation at the federal level. So that's the way I look at Igbo agenda for now. Although along the line there's been some sort of restiveness and misunderstanding of this core principle of, quote, Igbo agenda.
All right then. So, to what extent have all historical grievances and political marginalization shaped the present realities of the Igbo nation?
Yes. Again, thank you for that good question. We are human beings, and we carry memories with us. That's one thing human beings are known for. We have memories, and people carry, some historical grievances. So it's there. The Igbos feel they've not been well treated in Nigeria, and there's some credibility to that. Talk about the Civil War and all the sorts of marginalizations and things. The so-called principles of power rotation, the presidency, and so on. But for me, yes, the marginalization is there. The memories, the past memories are there. But for me, it shouldn't really define the Igbo nation. Those memories should rather be used as a compass to drive the direction, the future, not necessarily using it as a fuel to every time regurgitating these past grievances and feeling powerless. So it's within the Igbos to come together and forge, a better path for the future, so to speak.
Now, you mentioned when you were talking about the Igbo agenda, you made mention of a recent misunderstanding of what the Igbo agenda is about and what it entails. Why do you think that there is this misunderstanding these days? What led, or what would you say led to this distortion or misunderstanding of what exactly the Igbo agenda is?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. As well as I, this actually it's the Igbo agenda question has really not been a recent phenomenon. It's always been there. The Igbos are known for their industry. They are known for their hard work. And more than any other tribe in Nigeria, there is some call them the federating tribe of Nigeria. They're everywhere investing. They believe in the country. They believe in the unity of the country. And when there's people sort of appear to be prospering, there's always some sort of let me use the word loosely, by some detractors, some sort of envy and things like that. So sometimes that Igbo agenda, many people perceive it to be a domination. The Igbos have come with agenda to dominate. But I don't think it is really the case, because the Igbo agenda thing is supposed to be a national, it's a Igbo question, really is a Nigerian question. The Igbos are, genuine members of of the country called Nigeria, and they're everywhere. They believe in Nigeria. They're investing even more than in their homeland. So some people see that as agenda, but lately, there's been some restiveness, over time, and some youths and other people are now becoming restless. They are now trying to demand by demonstration and by, speaking out, because the so-called this is, apparently clear, so it does appear lately that, there's some sort of heightened, push towards that Igbo agenda, towards that demand for more equality, more representation, more infrastructural development in the better routes for the Igbo areas. So and things like so, it's not necessarily something that has been as it's always been there. But lately, some people have started speaking out, and some perceive this to be something that is very recent. But I don't think so. It's always been there.
All right, then. Insecurity has been the order of the day lately in Nigeria. So, how can the Southeast overcome rising insecurity in its region? And what role should the community leaders as well as the state government also play in this particular situation?
Yes, thank you for that as well. Insecurity, like we know, it's been pervading the country lately. Let me say in the past, uh, 10 to 15 years now, it's been there. And sadly, there's very little, even the state governments they could do a lot, the state government, but, security comes largely under exclusive list, largely. By that, I mean the police, the army, is under the control of the federal government. So the federal government at the end of the day has the big stake, in securing the lives of people across. Not that the states can't do enough, the police under the control of the federal. So we've seen lately, I don't know, the lack of political will to really target the issue of security in Nigeria. So, but within the states, not just the Igbo states, across, you've seen some state governors or some state governments, establishing some sort of vigilante to support the police, and then some other communities, especially in the southeast, some communities having vigilante groups to ward off criminals and things like. But at the end of the day, that won't be very effective if the federal government doesn't stamp its foot down and support this initiative. Some have been calling for state police. Some have been calling for, some sort of liberalization of the security architecture. But for me, despite all those, there are some other things that really will stem the issues of insecurity, uh, you know, by our consciously changing our values. Sometimes we tend to celebrate money unreasonably. We should go back to basics with the values the Igbos have been known for: hard work. Shouldn't celebrate quick monies and things. We should keep our values. By so doing, and there won't be that urge, the get rich quick syndrome that is now pervading, that is now getting more popular. Let me use the word popular amongst the youth. So that's another way the communities could help. But fighting insecurity, fighting all this, it's largely a Nigerian problem and has to be seen so. So the Southeast is not really excluded. The Igbos are really not excluded from this problem.
All right, then. Looking at the recent pronouncement on Nnamdi Kanu and his sentence to life imprisonment, what will this mean to the Igbo nation at large?
Well, it's very topical. Nnamdi Kanu, the way I say, he's been speaking out. Some think his modus, not quite right. Some think he went too far. But I think the Constitution of Nigeria, grants free speech, and he's been agitating for a fairer stake for the Southeast. But I keep saying that the Nnamdi Kanu's issue, the Igbo issue, or rather, which is a Nigerian issue, is much bigger than Nnamdi Kanu's issue. He was somehow, they said he was extraordinarily rendition, taken away from Kenya and brought to Nigeria, that he evaded justice and he was on the run and things. Some say he was charged under the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2011 that had been repealed and replaced with the newer act of 2002, the Terrorism and Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2002. And some are saying that it was wrong for him to, but forgetting all those semantics, I think beyond all this, his trials, I see it more as a political trial, and it should be also settled politically. But beyond that, we should learn from what he's been saying. What he's been saying, he's been calling for, I think, from the way I understand, he's been calling for, a fairer federalism. Because part of the problem is to avoid tyranny. You don't concentrate powers, at the center. You don't concentrate, different nationalities don't concentrate powers. That's just because some say power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I think at the heart of whatever he's saying about the Igbo, not only the Igbo nation, all the nations in Nigeria, it's about fairer representation, fairer federalism, devolution of powers to the various areas. And that's the core problem of Nigeria. That's the core problem of Nigeria. Nothing more, nothing less. When you have somebody who's not in touch or in tune with the local happenings, taking overall view, that's just the problem.
Now, speaking of fairer representation and that representation among everybody and the decentralization of power from the center, I recall you saying something about the Igbo people coming together to address this issue instead of constantly complaining of being marginalized and all of that. But I want to ask you then, if Nnamdi Kanu, who came out to speak on behalf of the Igbo people, has already been convicted, who else would be the person to bring the Igbo people together, like you said before? How can the Igbo people come together again to fight this issue? And why isn't there that unity among the Igbo people to handle this issue head on?
Well, I might disagree a little with you. I think there's this saying always that Igbos are a bit disunited. I don't think so. It's just that Igbos, by their nature, they are Republicans. They have different voices, but they mean well for Igbo land. I don't think all Igbos mean well for the Igbo land. The thing is, what I could say is it's just maybe method or style. Yes, Nnamdi Kanu, he has been speaking out. He's made his points known. He's done his job to me, and he wasn't the first, and neither is he going to be the last. We are all talking, but what we always have been saying, somebody like me, is measured engagement to demand what is fair. There's so much, inequalities, particularly the South has been complaining about bad roads, the siege by the military. Every point you go, you see military checkpoints everywhere, which is, you don't see much of that in some other, regions and things like that. And then issues of investment. So there should be this program we are doing, we're all, making the advocacy, for greater inclusion, better representation. So the South is what you guys are doing there over there, and what you are doing in Signature TV. You are also promoting this by getting people to know, getting the world to know what's going on. So at the end of the day, yes, Nnamdi Kanu has been there, and like I said, I believe his conviction is more of political conviction. Yes, some say there are some things found against, but at the end of the day, I would think that we will continue speaking. Our leaders, the people who send to the National Assembly, our governors, should come together, always come together to have the Igbo interests, for not personal interest, have the foreign, the interest of the Igbos, putting in the forefront of whatever they do, so that at the end of the day, what the Igbos are calling for, youth unemployment is all over the place. There are no industrial, clusters to absorb people, and the Igbos are known for commerce. There's no seaport, access to the seaport in the southeast. So these are things that should come in. If the Igbos are treated fairly, that's what I'm saying. You should not really be used as, we can't always be agitating. We should come together, find a way of engaging with whatever regime that is in place to have these things come to us. We have industrial areas like Onitsha, Newe and Aba. So there should be emphasis on industries. And the Igbos again should also start thinking home. They are well-respected businessmen all over the country and even outside the country. They should start thinking about bringing some of their wealth back home, engaging with the local community. And so in so doing, sometimes some say actions do speak louder than words. It's not always complaining. We should, our entrepreneurs should start putting, their these things to action by investing heavily in our labor, so to speak.
So what are your thoughts on the Ohaneze Ndibu? Because some people are of the opinion that they are not doing enough, or they're not doing what they should do for the Igbo people and for the Igbo agenda. So I'd like to know, what do you think about the role of Ohaneze Ndibu in promoting the Igbo voice and Igbo agenda?
Well, Ohaneze is there. Sometimes Ohaneze is run by people. Sometimes leadership is a problem in Nigeria. It's not only within the government, sometimes within regional groups. So having said that, sometimes it depends on the leadership of Ohaneze. And again, Ohaneze is also, some sort of regional. I don't think they have the powers. It's more of an advocacy group. They talk. Whether they are listening to is another thing. So sometimes people expect so much from Ohaneze. But having said that, I should also think that Ohaneze should be focused. They should try to unite the Igbos, try to, at all times, distill those things that are supposed to be the Igbo agenda, and some sort of have a way of communicating them clearly to the governments in place, both the central government and the state governors. So they should be the rallying point, really. I don't think they are doing enough in that direction. Um, Last time, I think earlier this year, sorry, late last year, there was a contest for the leadership of Ohaneze. It was a bit acrimonious, so many, but eventually we'll have a new leader who is from the River State, now the President General of Ohaneze. He's been there, but for me, he's been a bit quiet. He's been a bit quiet over the past 1 year. I should expect, being the apex organization of the Igbo people, to come out, strongly, to be making statements, trying to position the Igbo agenda in such a way as to, tell other nationalities in Nigeria that Igbo is not about separatism. The Igbos are just calling for fairness, throughout federation and things. It should be constant, but sometimes um, there seems to be some quiet. I don't know the reason, but I think they could do a little more. You know, as an advocacy group, really, they should really engage. They should really engage and put out regular, statement saying what the Igbos really want, apart from the noise. There's so much noise out there, and some people can't, really separate the facts from the fiction. So it should be in such a way that there should be, constant positioning of the Igbo agenda across the media, across breadth, across breadth, length and breadth of the country. So I think in that direction, Ohaneze needs to do more, you know.
All right, then. So let's look at the youth inclusion in shaping the Igbo nation as well. So, what role should the youth also play in carrying out this particular duty, especially in this area of migration and digital innovation?
Yes, like I say, the youths are, of course, whether you like it or not, they are leaders of tomorrow. But another thing is, how are they engaged? I think somehow the youth's really not been properly engaged. We still have some of very senior citizens still dictating the, direction. Youth inclusion is minimal, and sometimes the elderly ones sometimes think they have all the answers. So I will, on that score, I will, give the youth some benefit of doubt. But again, a situation where you find that you've gone to university, you've done something, and you're unemployed. What do you want somebody to do? So there's a trend now. We are now in, the era of information technology. What happens in Germany, US, it's all over the place. You get to know. So youths want to migrate. They want to better life for themselves. They want to live. And the way the country is not helping them out. So they should be more engaged. The youth should be more engaged. They should be given hope that, you know, and they should really see that this will not just hope, hope as to, telling them they are so just remain calm, and they should be, functional, and, things, you know, that are done to engage these youth. Engage them. There should be skills acquisition, so many things. Engage them and bring in their energy, because at the end of the day, youth is energy. It's all about energy. It's about renewal. And if you don't engage them properly, a community is, people that don't engage their youth properly will suffer in the future. And again, gradually, because of the unengagement of the youths, especially the Igbo youths, and the Igbos are people that are well traveled. Many people come over from all sorts of, places from diaspora. They bring in some of the values they have acquired, the good ones and the bad ones. And some of our youth copy, whole like a line and sinker, thinking that some of these things are the best ways of, you see some people, some young men braiding their hair, some, feminizing themselves, some wearing earrings, Some might say there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't, it's not in tune really with our culture. And some are just engaging in get rich endeavors. Some are doing some sort of fraudulent activities online, rather than deploying those energies into, very useful endeavors. There are a lot of opportunities out there now, in the digital world. A country that has done very well, digitally is a country like India. They supply the digital manpower all across, from the southeast all across the whole world. I'm talking to you here from the United Kingdom. We are talking. So the digital divide has made everything, very easy now. So, but the youths are still young. They are, despite some of them are, they have the bodies of adults, but they are young. They need to be properly oriented, and that's not what is happening. So when you get them together, so the fault is really not the youths. You bring them together. They just came in there as babies. You have a baby today. In the next 10, 15 years, the person is turned out to be an adolescent. Before you know it, the person is 20. And if you don't guide the person properly, what do you expect the person to do? So the leaders, should, as a matter of urgency, start engaging the youth and directing them towards, the right path. And you don't blame the youth when they see politicians, especially corrupt politicians, putting their hands on the tills and getting, and going away scot-free with that. What do you expect them to do? So there must be a cultural shift from, what we've been doing. In that way, we will not only be, helping out the youth, but we be securing the future. Not only the Igbos, but the Nigerian, state as a whole.
Now, cultural shift you just said caught my attention, and I want to ask you, apart from the issue of marginalization and wanting inclusion in political, economic, and every other aspect of, daily activities, what about the Igbo identity in terms of culture, our culture and tradition? Do you still believe that the Igbo people as a whole, now I'm not just talking about the youths, but the Igbo people in its entirety, do you think that they are still carrying the core values of the Igbo culture and tradition in their daily activities, and also while speaking up for the Igbo nation and the Igbo agenda?
Yes, that's a good question. I think, at the end of the day, if you're bereft, or if you don't have that political power, if you sometimes you don't have a say, sometimes you tend to, they tend to acquiesce, or you tend to bend towards other cultures. You tend to bend. So there's been a gradual shift, but it's not total. It's been a gradual shift, to my own mind. The Igbos, yes, they're well traveled, but another consequence of it, both traveling and also being in a country where their voice, they are not well represented. Some of the outcome, the unintended consequence might be, some sort of degrading of the core values which Igbos are known for. Degrading, when you don't have some sort of confidence. That's what I'm talking about. The Igbos should remember who they are. They are known for hard work. They are people known not to cut corners. They want to do things, they want to engage, they believe in hard work. And that element is gradually, being under threat. Is gradually being under threat. So I would think what we need to do, our leaders, we should stop this, excessive and, conspicuous consumption. We should start, thinking inwards. We should start reorienting our people towards the values. Like Igbo boy, today, the apprenticeship scheme is what has made Igbos who they are today. And that scheme is under threat. Most young men who don't want to go through tutelage, they want to come out overnight and, become the richest. So it's a problem. It's a problem, that needs to be addressed quickly. It needs to be addressed very quickly in order to save the Igbo nation. Because if whatever anybody tells you, there's no replacement for hard work. You must go through tutelage. You must go through life the hard way. You must endure, go walk through that rough path to really make it in life. But somehow that seems not to be the story now. So there's a need for total reorientation of the values for which Igbos have really been known, what's really placed Igbos where they are today.
So much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, so our conversation was on the Igbo nation and Igbo agenda in times like this. And Barrister Pat Onukwuli joined us via Zoom, and he is a legal practitioner. Thank you for joining us. Of course, we are headed to our last conversation for today. Do stay with us.